Good morning, everybody. Well, it's actually afternoon right now, but it's Monday. And so I thought I'd do some reading for us today. So we're doing the last chapters of Mrs. Lilly, and then we'll move on to a new one. So we're just about done with this one. All right, here we go. Eyeballs on. Chapter 11, Freedom of the Press. The person who came running into the classroom at that moment was Dr. Carbles, the president of the Board of Education. He was the one who came up with the idea of Career Day in the first place. "Klutz," he shouted. "Why are you standing there with your pants down?" I was just going to prove to the children that I wear underpants," said Mr. Klutz. "The children are here to learn about reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're not here to learn about your underwear," said Dr. Carbles. But, we all started giggling because Mr. Klutz kept saying but, which sounds just like butt, your butt. But you can't say but in school. Nobody knows why. "Parading around in your underpants is not part of your job description, Klutz. You're fired," yelled Dr. Carbles. Everybody gasped. That's when a bunch of teachers came running into the room. "We heard that the students are writing mean stories about us in the school paper," shouted Mr. Mackey. "Is this true?" "Yes, it's true," said Mr. Klutz, waving around a copy of the Elementary Century. "Look at this. Mrs. Patty, dog killer. Vice Principal, poison defenseless animals." "You can't print that garbage," shouted Miss Coco. "Sure we can," said Miss Lilly. "Didn't you ever hear of the freedom of the press? It's in the First Amendment." "Well, I'm the president of the Board of Education," said Dr. Carbles as he grabbed all the papers out of the printer. "And what I say goes. I'm shutting down the Elementary Century. Right now." Everybody gasped. "That's not fair," said Ryan. "It's our paper. You can't shut it down." "Oh, yes, I can," shouted Dr. Carbles, "and there's nothing you can do about it. Nobody will ever read this trash." Everybody was very upset, but Mrs. Lilly had a little smile on her face. "I'm sorry to tell you this," she said quietly, "but people are already reading the Elementary Century." "What?" shouted Dr. Carbles as he waved the papers in the air. "How can anybody read it if I have all the pages?" "Because they're reading the online edition," Mrs. Lilly said. "The Elementary Century is also on the internet. I sent it to WikiLeaks. Thousands of people are probably reading it right now." "Oh no," shouted Mr. Klutz. "Everybody's going to think I have 2 wives and that I don't wear underwear." "People are going to say I beat my wife," shouted Mr. Docker. "And they'll say I'm a drunk," shouted Mrs. Laney. "And then I kill defenseless animals," shouted Mrs. Jaffe. Suddenly, there was a siren outside. I looked out the window. A police car pulled up to the school and 2 cops got out. A minute later, they came into our classroom. "Which one of you is the principal of this school?" the policeman asked. "I am," said Mr. Klutz. "Well, you're under arrest. It's against the law to have more than 1 wife, you know." But this is all a big mistake, officer," Mr. Klutz tried to explain. You don't have the right to anything. You have the right to remain silent, though," interrupted the policeman as he got out a pair of handcuffs. "So be quiet and pull up your pants." The policeman handcuffed Mr. Klutz and led him away. The other policeman took a pad out of his pocket. "Okay, so we also need to arrest the guy who beats his wife, the lady who burns down the houses, the car thief, and who's the dog killer around here?" he asked. "That would be me," said Mrs. Patty, raising her hand. "The guy who kisses married women can stay," he said, "and so can the illegal alien and the lady who thinks she sees Elvis in soup bowls. But we're keeping an eye on you." He put handcuffs on Mr. Docker, Mrs. Yonkers, Miss Coco, and Mrs. Patty, and then he led them out the doorway. It was cool, and we got to see it live and in person. Nobody said anything for a while after the police car drove away. Then Mrs. Lilly stood up and put her trench coat on. "Well, my work here is done," she said. "You can thank me later. For now, I gotta go." "Do you have to go, or do you gotta go?" I asked. "I mean leave," she said. "You don't need to use leaves," I said. "There's toilet paper in the bathroom." Dr. Carbles and just about all the other grown-ups left the classroom after that. The only one who was still there was Mr. Granite. "Okay," said Mr. Granite. "Maybe we can finally do our math lesson now. Turn to page 23 in your..." But he didn't get the chance to finish, because at that moment, the bell rang. Ring! 3 o'clock. Time to go home. Yeah, no math. When I got home, my mom asked me what happened at school during the day. Nothing, I said. Chapter 12. Lies, all lies.